I strongly believe that businesses have a much bigger role to play in the rehabilitation of ex-offenders than was previously considered the case, because, quite frankly, government hasn't been up to it. £13 billion is spent in keeping prisoners inside prison. Hardly anything is spent on keeping them safe when they're out. It costs £37,000 a year to keep someone in prison. The day they're released, they're given £50 and a good luck wish if they're lucky. The figures don't stack up. 70% of prisoners reoffend within a year. It's because they're not being prepared for the outside world again. They're not being told when they're inside prison that there are employers who might want to take you on. There are ways in which you can get a bank account. There are ways in which you can get a home. Governments have never really believed that. There always be, you've all heard this term, like, tough on crime, tough on the causes of crime, but who's tough on taking people out of crime? Nobody's really having that conversation. Over the last few years, I've spent quite a bit of time in, working with prisons, and invariably the prisoners, I mean, not all prisoners, I mean, not everyone's in there just because they were broke the day that they committed their crime, but quite often it is the case. They don't want to go back. The reason they reoffend is that they haven't got the money. They can't find a way to get a job. They can't find a way to get a home. It's as simple as that. If businesses could engage with these groups at an early stage while they're still in prison and prepare them for the world of work, get day releases from them and say, like, in my environment, you could have a job. With a job, you can get a bank account, you can get a home. You'll do everything you can not to go back to prison, and I will get a member of staff who I know is going to be more committed to working with me than anyone coming off benefits would be. There's a huge social impact in working with ex-offenders, which are beyond the commercial benefits. If somebody is released from prison, they might be selling drugs to my children, they might be breaking into my car, or they could be working for me. They could be inside my business, coming step to the right side of the road, or making society more dangerous, more prone to further crime, further drugs problems in the future. So there is not only the commercial benefit within our business, but there's a wider social impact which also would affect our business. They could be breaking into my restaurant right now, or they could be inside working in it. There are very good agencies that work with businesses on taking the right ex-offenders. You won't get given people who've committed like huge crimes, like murders or sex offences or things like that. So those people are vetted out. So that leaves the vast majority of people who have committed like minor theft or drugs or things that you can find a social explanation for, that you don't need a clinical explanation for, and that's usually the difference between who will come through your doors and who will be sifted out. So you won't be given hard to reach cases because we want good results. Unfortunately, for the people who have got the high-risk categories, there's much less hope for them. But the vast majority aren't in that high-risk area, and they are carefully vetted so that we don't end up with the wrong candidates. One of the things that I was really surprised when I first started hiring ex-offenders was they really, really, really don't want to go back to prison, which means they work really, really, really hard for you, because that way they don't have to, because they think that the harder they work within the company, the more chances are they're going to be for them to stay, which means it's less likely for them to reoffend and go back to prison. So you get an extremely loyal member of staff when you hire an ex-offender, and we've had brilliant results with some going on to open their own businesses, which is all thanks to somebody giving them a chance, and they've gone on to do something more, and they're now employing other prisoners. So it really does work.